Good evening and welcome to GMS News Station. Tonight, we bring you coverage of one of the most significant oil tanker disaster in maritime history, which is the Atlantic Empress oil spill. On the evening of July 19, 1979, an incident took place in the open waters of the Caribbean Sea, around 20 miles northeast of Tobago. At the time of collision, the Atlantic Empress was located near 11 degree 30 minutes north, 16 degree 48 minute west, and the Egan Captain was at 11 degree 30 minutes and north 60 degree and 32 minutes west, where these two fully loaded supertankers, the Atlantic Empress and the Egan Captain, was collided. The Atlantic Empress, a 5-year-old very large crude carrier, was en route to Mobile Refinery in Bowman, Texas, carrying 276,000 tons of light crude oil, while the Egan Captain was heading to Singapore, transporting a mix of light and heavy crude oil. At the time, both vessels were navigating through a tropical storm with near zero visibility.
So, hi Miss, can you tell us what you remember from the night at the Atlantic Empress explosion?
So, I was the ship engineer on board of the Atlantic Empress. That night, everything went dark and then white. The ship shook so hard and then came the fire. It was everywhere and spread so fast. I was below the deck when it happened.
So when this explosion happened, what was the immediate response like on board and by the company for this issue?
Some of us made it to the lifeboats, but we lost 26 good men that night. The sea looked black for days and you couldn't smell anything but burning oil and diesel. The company did what it could. They towed the ship away from the islands, away from people.
After all that happened, how did the conditions of the sea affect the rescue and clean up efforts?
We didn't have containment rooms, drones or satellite tracking like we do today. There was no international response system. The clean up, there was none. We left it to the ocean and the ocean paid the price.
So what kind of support did the crew and families receive after the incident happened?
Insurance paid out through our P&I club, but no amount of money brings peace to those who burn or to those of us who are alive.
So looking back for the incidents, what lesson do you think the world could learn from this disaster?
We learned the hard way and now we must do better.
The collision caused an immediate explosion, setting both vessels ablaze. In the course that followed, 27 crew members tragically lost their life. Emergency response team worked quickly. The fire on the Egan Captain was eventually brought under control and her cargo was safely offloaded in Curacao. However, the situation aboard the Atlantic Empress was much more severe. Despite effort by specialist crews, the fire continued for days. The burning vessel was towed further out into open waters but ultimately sank on August 2 at 260 miles east of Barbados and 350 miles northeast of Trinidad, in waters 40,000 feet deep. The two ships carried a combined 3.5 million barrels of the crude oil. Fortunately, much of the oil on the Atlantic Empress burned off due to the intense fire and natural conditions including warm water, reduced wind and the strong ocean current, which helped to dissipate the remaining oil. As a result, no oil reached shore and no significant environmental damage was reported. Satellite monitoring even confirmed no new oil was detected after the sinking. The incident, while tragic, stand out in history due to the scale of the potential disaster and the unexpected way nature helped to reduce the long-term damage. For more on the clean-up methods, response costs and the current updates, we now turn to my colleague at the news desk.
Thank you, Dina. In the wake of the disaster, Mobil Oil, the owner of the cargo aboard the Atlantic Empress, took swift leadership in managing the oil spill response despite not being directly responsible for the collision. The response effort was massive and multifaceted. Among the first actions taken was the use of dispersants. Specially equipped aircraft, including a DC-4 and 4 single-engine planes, were deployed to spray low-toxicity dispersants on the leading edges of the oil slicks. These dispersants were also applied by vessels at sea, helping to break down and disperse the oil. To prevent the oil from reaching land, tugboats were used to tow both vessels away from the coastline. The agent captain was moved northeast, while the drifting Atlantic Empress was continuously towed in the same direction in an effort to keep it under control. Although littering equipment was brought in and placed on standby to transfer oil from the damaged vessels, this operation was ultimately not completed due to the ongoing fires aboard the Atlantic Empress. Firefighting efforts were intense. Crews boarded the burning ship and managed to extinguish fires in specific sections, such as the number 5 starboard tank. Meanwhile, tugs continuously sprayed cooling water on the ship's deck in an attempt to manage the flames. In addition, there was a large-scale airlift operation to Trinidad, delivering essential supplies from the Clean Caribbean Cooperative stockpile. This included dispersants, firefighting foam, oil transfer gear and pollution control equipment, which all flown in on 13 separate aircraft missions. While specific cleanup costs were not disclosed, the scale of the operation reflects significant financial and logistic investment. Mobil dispatched a 5-man expert team from New York, mobilized Postal Service INC for equipment support, and chartered multiple aircraft, vessels and tugs, clearly indicating a large-scale response effort. Most tragically, the human cost remained irreplaceable. 27 crew members lost their lives during the initial explosion and fire, underscoring the profound risk faced by those who operate our global oil supply networks. The response was well coordinated. A team of experts was assembled in Port of Spain, Trinidad, working with the US Coast Guard, the Ministry of Energy, and other authorities. Overflights and satellites monitoring using Landsat imagery were conducted to track the slick's movement and confirm its eventual dissipation. Tugboats remained in the area to support continued monitoring for several weeks. Additionally, a public relations team was established in collaboration with the Ministry of Information to ensure accurate updates were shared with the press and public, addressing concerns over pollution threats and ongoing actions.
Trinidad and Tobago in July 1979, it triggered one of the largest marine oil spill in history.
Over 287,000 metric tons of crude oil poured into the Caribbean Sea. The spill didn't reach the coastline, but that didn't mean the environment was spared. The oil spread over thousands of square kilometers, coating the surface and contaminating marine ecosystem. Birds, fish, and plankton in the area were exposed to the toxic hydrocarbons. Unlike modern spills, no large-scale cleanup took place. There were no containment system, only fire suppression and towing efforts. The ocean was left to absorb the damage. Though far from shore, the ecological damage was real, and long-term effects remain poorly documented. It was a wake-up call, but it will take more disaster before the world truly listens.